Hey everybody, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about boundaries and our relationships with people and how important they are, the power of relationships. So my dad always said, you are who your friends are. Man, I did not want to believe that was true. When I was a teenager, I did not believe him. I told myself I wouldn't smoke just because my friends smoked. And he was determined to help me see the influences that were around me were going to cause me to do the same thing they did. Just because they did something didn't mean I was going to. And the reality is that I did end up smoking with my friends. And when my friends got caught, I was guilty by association. And that happened to me a couple of times. Even if I wasn't doing it and I was with them, I would get in trouble the same as them. And they did rub off on me. Just hanging out with them would cause me to change my beliefs. And it's interesting as an adult to look back on that and think that I knew what I was doing. And I hate it when my dad's right. We want to look at that because as adults, sometimes we forget we are who our friends are. And we forget that we're around people and they're having an influence on us. And when you think about it, sometimes we don't have a reason. We don't have a way to get away from somebody. You know, maybe it's somebody you work with, maybe it's someone you go to church with. It's someone that goes to the place you're going to and you're not willing to not go to that place. And they're there. We have to learn how to adjust and adapt and create boundaries. We can go anywhere. We need to be able to go anywhere. And relationships with other people should not be a thing that stops us from enjoying our life and awareness inside of us and around us, so that we're able to go anywhere with anyone. And the most important thing to remember is you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. So this news can suck when there is someone in your life you can't get away from and you're sure they are bringing your average down. I learned that it doesn't necessarily have to be someone you know to bring your average up. That's why I developed a panel of people to discuss my thoughts and my problems with. I invited people on my panel that I respected, who had what I wanted, who I could ask questions and gain perspective from. You can read what these people say if they are going to give you personal advice. Podcasts are wonderful because you can listen to your favorite people anywhere, anytime. Robert Kiyosaki says the most important decision you will make is who is your teacher. Who do you listen to? Take advice from. I know in school they told us only cheaters copy. Being a copycat of the person you want to be like is genius because it works. Do what they do to get the results they got. What are their hobbies, family life, environments? You can pick and choose what you want from the people you listen to. We all need people to look up to. So developing your own personal panel of people raises the average of who you are by learning from others who have what you want. If you're single, work a lot, or you just have an introvert personality, it's hard to find the right people to be around. You can still choose. When I was using alcohol to numb my feelings, I realized I didn't look up to anybody. I didn't even respect anybody. I had lost touch with admiring and respecting others. How do you think this affected my attitude towards others? How do you think I treated others? If you can't think of people you admired, start working on a list of people who other people respect until you gain respect for them. Also, it's okay for the people in your top 5 to change. Caution. As you grow in your self-esteem by increasing self-love, surroundings, and boundaries, you will have choices to make about your relationships. And this could be hard, and maybe you're already experiencing that. The people around you start to not make sense to you, and you might feel like you don't want to be around them as much. And that is the natural progression of raising your self-esteem and raising your awareness and your clarity is that some relationships are going to fall away. Is that you don't have to necessarily know the people in your panel. I figured out that they were lowering my average of where I wanted to be. So I decided to look for people that could raise my average up. So I would read books about how they would solve problems. And so I could still use that person when I was trying to figure out how to solve a problem. I would think about how would that person solve this problem? So I don't necessarily have to talk to them personally and know them personally. But I can have them on my panel and I can learn about them and see how they live their life. And I can make decisions based on how they have taught me, how they've been written about, how they've written books. So that's how I'm able to use people on my panel that I don't necessarily know. You may outgrow your relationships. You may feel guilty about leaving friends or family behind. You may feel uncomfortable around new friends because you're changing and you might not feel like you fit in with this new relationship. You might feel like you don't belong. So I'm going to use an analogy, and I'm going to have you get a piece of paper and a pen so that you can do this right now with me. Imagine a cork board with a bullseye. I want you to draw on your paper. So, the kind that you use to throw darts at. So you're going to draw those rings, and your name and your higher power are in the bullseye. All right. So you get to partner with a power greater than yourself. If you haven't already acknowledged you are nothing alone, then take my word for it. And millions of others that have benefited from believing in something bigger than themselves. So you can put the ocean, the universe, higher power, God. I've even used the word love. So I've worked with lots of people over the years. Being agnostic or atheist is not going to stop you from growing if you have an open mind. Right now, take a nice deep breath in, and I'm going to have you just consider having an open mind and receive this information and just try it on. When I was practicing trying on new ideas, I would think of wearing a coat, and I literally would be thinking of, okay, I'm going to try this on like a coat, and I'm going to wear it for a season. And if I don't like the way it fits, I'm going to get something different for the following season. It's like, I need to put it on long enough for a whole season to actually see if I like the way it fits, if I like the way it keeps me warm, if I like the way it looks with all the different clothes that I wear. You know what I mean? It's like we need to put it on long enough so that we're getting an experience. Just acknowledging you can't do it alone is a great beginning. So I often replace the word God with love, because everyone can believe in love. And everyone was created with love and wants to be loved. They've done those studies where if a monkey wasn't touched, they die. We all need love to survive. And even if that's coming from a higher power and ourselves, as an adult, we're able to create that. We get to do that. We have a mind, and I believe God wants us to use it. He gave us brains for a reason, right? So acknowledging there is a power greater than yourself and you aren't that power. It's a whole nother level of believing that we need this higher power to actually enjoy our lives. We are stronger with others. So we want to designate people to these rings. So who will be in your top 5? It doesn't mean you don't love the people that are farther away. This is a healthy way to visualize boundaries with people. This is really important because, when I first started out, I felt confused because people's titles would make me feel like they had to be closer in, like a title of husband, parents, siblings, children. And especially when we're starting out, like maybe you have a friend that you've had for a really long time. And so like out of loyalty, you feel like this person should be close to me. About 10 years ago, actually it's probably more like 12 years now, I was having a crisis in my relationships, and everything was all the people I was hanging around with were unhealthy for me. And it appeared that I had a lot of friends. I had friends at work. I had friends outside of work. I was in clubs, and I was in running clubs, and I was in church, and it appeared that I had all these friends. And I'm not saying that these people weren't good people. It's just where I was at, I wasn't healthy either. And so I was attracting other people that were just like me, my equals. And when I decided I wanted something different and I started changing, I didn't understand if I was considering this person my spouse and this person my best friend, why it was healthier to put them on outer rings. And so I just want to encourage you to just try this on. You're going to find that even when you start making boundaries of putting people farther out in those rings, that some people even fight their way into a ring closer because they can feel that pressure or the resistance, and they could fight their way back into being closer to you. So it's important to make adjustments with someone when we're looking at these boundaries. So our life changes, and we may need different people at different times to come closer or go farther away. We don't have control over other people, but we do have control over who takes space in our lives. Let's say there's someone you can't get away from, like a boss, a coworker, husband, parent, sibling, or child that brings your average down. You can choose to listen to other people more than them. So this is what happened in my ring. I had to put the people that I was spending the most time with on the outer rings. And I had to listen to people I didn't know to raise my average. I was listening to podcasts. I was reading books. I was feeding my brain with things at a higher vibration than the people that were currently in my life. This is such a beautiful thing because we have agency, and you can create time to listen to your panel. Everything that everyone says to us takes space in our head. So we need to be aware of what you are feeding your thoughts. Just like a diet from ice cream and cupcakes to get results, a media diet to restrict or eliminate things we see and hear gets results too. So just like replacing chips with vegetables, we can replace who we listen to. One of my favorite people is Darren Hardy, and he taught me that news is not important. He said that anything important he needed to know about our country will be talked about in the lunchroom. Now, he's a very important person in the public eye and feels no need to listen to news. He says the news just feeds my brain negativity about stuff I have no control over and can do nothing about. It just makes me feel like it's doomsday. So this gave me permission to not feel guilty about not watching the news or staying informed. When riots were happening in June 2020, people told me what was going on in the break room, emails, and at the gas station. When COVID-19 happened, the supermarkets told us what we needed to do. I didn't need to hear how many people died to get me to wear a mask. COVID-19 also made it hard to see people or spend time with people. You can choose who we spend time with by reading their books they've written or books about them. Just like friends, we learn about them to know them better. You can make friends with people you've never met. You can gather advice from friends you've never met. Isn't that awesome? So who do you want to listen to? Who do you want to feed your mind? What kind of things do you want to feed your mind with? Because all those things that we're feeding are coming out in our thoughts and our feelings and our behavior. So how do you know who your top 5 are? Well, it's who do you spend the most time with? You can track who you listen to, spend time with, sleep with, work with to figure out who your top 5 are. I had a relationship where on paper I was spending a lot of time with, even though I didn't necessarily feel like it was a benefit. At the time, I couldn't change it. I had to accept it. So I started tracking the time I would need to make up for being with this person so that they were not part of my top 5. I had to listen to podcasts, read books when I was around this person to raise the average of my 5. So what I realized as I spent so much time with this person, I had 2 people. I had someone at home and had someone at work that I was spending a lot of time with that was kind of causing my average to go down, especially when I was trying to make these changes. And so I started listening to podcasts at lunch. I started listening to Darren Hardy in my car. I listened to audiobooks. I was finding any little bit of time that I could listen to someone else talk to me that I respected and wanted to be like, that can help me make progress, the results, the facts, so if I'm not getting the results that I'm looking for, then it's not working. And so being able, and you know what, I found it makes it harder on us too. So it's so much easier to do it with other people, and we don't ever have to do anything alone. And I personally believe that God doesn't want us to do anything alone. He wants to help us. The universe wants to give you your dreams. That's why we have desires. And the other thing is we were created to progress. We were created to learn and grow and inspire and love one another. One of the biggest problems with change is admitting what we don't know. When we don't know, we need to collect more information, get educated, read a book, find a source, find a coach, seek guidance. People are a great source of information. If we are who we hang around, we need to choose people that can help us grow and keep growing. Choosing my people. Let's say I want to find my soulmate. Who am I going to have in my outer rings? Who in your life adds to the quality of your life? Who in your life do you respect? The hardest environment to change is the people around us. One way to find out why you've held on to a relationship that may not be serving you is the payoff. Even when you think a person is a bad influence, you know they aren't right for you. Why do you stay around them? You feel like a bad person if you abandon them. You don't have anyone else to spend time with. You feel like you can help them, so you feel obligated to keep them around because they need you. When you blame them for behavior, so when we start blaming people for their behavior that we disapprove of, you feel better about yourself. When you can compare yourself to someone you think is below you, you feel better about yourself. You settle with relationships because you don't think there is anyone else out there that will put up with your behavior. Or let's say with your schedule, a lot of us are super busy. And so being able to just settle for a relationship because they're there when we can fit it in, so that we don't have to be alone, also could be a reason why we hold on to something that doesn't really serve us. So you get to act the way you want without any consequences. This could also be a reason why we hold on to a relationship. You justify bad behavior because they do it. So it's nice to have someone doing something and comparing ourselves to them and thinking, well, I'm not as bad as that person, whether they eat more sugar or they drink more than us, and we're able to be like, oh, well, at least I'm not as bad as them. But it makes it okay for me to continue to do behavior that doesn't necessarily serve me. So when a friend tells me I should take it easy on myself and have a cookie, it's not a big deal to use cookies to comfort myself. I know they say this because it's what they say to themselves. Maybe I don't want to take diet advice from someone who doesn't have the body or health I want. I have a relationship with someone who I get triggered by on a regular basis about the kind of mother I am. Whatever they say, I take it to mean I'm just not good enough. Why do I get so triggered? Why do I want to listen to this person's attitudes or judgments when they are not the mother I would want to be anyway? Be careful who you take advice from. We do it all the time. We are looking for approval in the wrong places. We look for attention too. Sometimes this is enough of a payoff to keep a relationship closer than it needs to be. So what I mean by payoff is I keep having a relationship with someone, it's not working, and I say or complain or blame this person because it's their fault, but I don't do anything about it. So a payoff is the reason why we keep going back to the relationship. Does that make sense? This word payoff is going to be huge in our growth because anytime we want to change behavior, there is always a payoff that keeps us doing it the same. Because we have this default, right? We have a default of the way we do things, and the payoff keeps us there. So when I think of the default mode, it's what's happened in the past, what's happening now, and what will continue to happen in the future. Because we keep doing the same thing because it's comfortable. So a payoff could just be, it's familiar because I know what's going to happen. This is what's happened in the past. This is what's happening now. And I will choose familiar over change because change feels different, and change, even though it's good, is uncomfortable. So we want to avoid not knowing. So the payoff could be if I keep doing it the same, and of course this is like unconscious, right? People say all the time that they want these goals, but what keeps them where they are is the payoff. So there's always a payoff for the reason why we do a behavior. So that is really important if you keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, Einstein said that was insanity. So what I'm trying to help uncover is consider there is a payoff that's keeping you the same. And the awareness of knowing what that is huge, because then we can choose. We can be aware of, this is why I'm doing it, because it's familiar, because I've been friends with this person for 30 years and I don't really want to give it away. And I also have the belief they're going to change, And so again, that's what the belief is, or the thought that is the payoff keeping me in this relationship. So there may be people in your life that you're a service to. Maybe you're a doctor, maybe you're in the healthcare, maybe it's just church service, or you just believe in do unto others as they would do unto you, right? And so my life is filled with service, and I love loving other people because it gets me out of myself. So sometimes there's going to be people that belong in the equation with boundaries. So there's going to be people that you are of service to, but can't be one of your top 5. People you are serving may have you in their top 5, but not the other way around. So I partner with God in the bullseye. My next ring is my husband. My next ring is my son. My panel of experts, my best friends. The next ring are people I'm of service to. So my rings, go in this order. I'm just want to give you an example, right? So many people have mentored me. And so when I have felt so much support and that support encouraged me, I want to give that back. So I believe you give what you have so you can keep it. If I want people in my circle to raise me up, I need to raise up others. I define my relationship with them by monitoring how long I spend time with them. So you just have to keep going back and kind of tracking who is in your top 5. And you want your top 5 to be the people that are inspiring you. You want those people to be your equal or better, so that you're being, those top 5 are the people that you're accountable to, that have the same morals and values that you do, or that you admire and want. So you're going to continue to monitor how long you spend time. I can't give more than I have. So if I start giving to these relationships more than I receive from my top 5, the average will be lower. Also, I will not have what I could have without setting boundaries. So I can be more effective and more helpful by keeping boundaries for myself. And I'll have more to offer those in need. It helps because everyone wants boundaries, because you know what to expect from people when they have boundaries. You feel more safe about what to expect when I'm clear and they are clear about what I can offer. I have boundaries so I don't get overwhelmed. I don't do for others what they can do for themselves. Children could be an exception, because my son is someone I want close in my rings as he's living at home and I'm his parent. There are things about him I can learn from him. I want to love and teach and be of service. I want to respect him. I do look up to him, for he is our future generation. My desires to have a good parenting skills and good relationship with him are good. And I want to raise a wonderful member of society and have an intimate relationship with him is a top priority. So naturally, he is my top priority. He's closer in my rings. But as he gets older and moves out, he will probably move out farther in the rings, not because I love him less, not because he's less of a priority. The desires to let him be his own person and start his own family is healthy. My job as a parent changes after he moves out of the house and has his own house. After he's 18, there's no more raising. He's raised. I get to be supportive and encouraging. My role changes and life changes and priorities change. Also, it can change because of the person. I'm assuming my son will want to move out to the outer rings of my life. I'm assuming he will have his own family and his own top 5, and it isn't mom. I could be wrong. I would be more than happy to have him closer forever. My parents could move closer in my rings when they need me for help as they get older. What if I don't know how to make a boundary? This is easy. As we've learned, increasing love increases my boundaries. So when I increase the love for myself and I build my self-esteem and I am more clear about what I'm looking for in life, these boundaries come automatically. And we're going to continue to feed this equation. Love plus choices equals peace. And so when we're talking about this love, it is the love for ourselves. It is the love for our universe and a higher power. It's the love for other human beings. And as we cultivate this love, it fills us up with an amazing power. And this equation, love plus choices equals peace, when we put love into the equation and we understand it, there's an application in our lives. It is directly proportional to the peace we will have in our lives. And so we raise the bar of self-love and our boundaries happen automatically. So putting self-love and divine love first, we automatically feel full of love. We love ourselves enough to not let people walk all over us. We love them enough to let them be themselves. When we're struggling in our marriage, we wanted the other person to change. I became so free when I gave myself permission to be who I was. And it was freeing to let them be who he was. When I stopped trying to fix him, change him, wish he was different, I felt better. We both worked so hard at our marriage. We both wanted to stay married, and it wasn't enough. We got a divorce, and a new boundary applied. In order to be co-parents, he is not off the radar. He is still in my rings. But there is freedom in the rings because he knows what to expect from me, and I know what to expect from him. There's no trying to change him or blame him or complain about him because there is clarity. And that has come from boundaries. And it does make everybody feel better in the relationship. It's safe to be myself, and I'm not trying to change him, but he knows where I stand. Isn't that beautiful? To really know where someone stands, and that creates safety. So another reason we keep people in closer to us than they should be is we want to belong. So we get used to identifying with our posse, our tribe. We feel a part of them. So without them, we don't know who we are. We could die without them. Think about when we are born into this world. Our family is our tribe, our everything. Without them, we would die. So it's a survival instinct to be in a tribe. Being different could kick you out of the tribe. So we do whatever to stay the same, to fit in and be a part of, even when it no longer works for you or you've outgrown it. I've had so many clients struggle with this because, well, it's my parents and I love them and I'm obligated to have this relationship with them, even though it doesn't work, or you keep going back to get love from parents that aren't able to give it, aren't capable of it, right? So we look for love in the wrong places. We look for boundaries in the wrong places. So if we don't fit in, we feel rejected. We feel abandoned, alone. That can feel like death. We avoid this at all costs. So we keep people close that don't belong and others too far away. And this is also a payoff, because the payoff is I believe I'm obligated to have my parents close to me. I'm obligated to love them. They're obligated to love me. And we have no control over that. Something I want right now is more financial abundance. I recently quit my job at the hospital and I am now working for myself. And so I am focusing my bullseye and the top people in my life to help me achieve these financial goals. I need more people in my life that understand business and investing and entrepreneur. I can read more about it. I know many people that get paid hourly. I want to find people that get paid over and over on stuff they've done once. At the hospital, you can only make so much. As an entrepreneur, there is no limit, especially depending on who you talk to. I want to change the way I think about money. John Assaraf is someone who thinks about money the way I want to think about it. Rich Dad, Poor Dad author Robert Kiyosaki and Jack Canfield could also be on my panel. I don't want to work hourly or for someone else. I want to work smarter and create abundance. I know there are people who have done this. I need more information, so I get to listen to them and put them on my panel. I want to be good at parenting and have an exhilarating, passionate marriage. I want to lose inches and have less weight bearing on my knees, neck, hip, and feet. I want to continue to grow spiritually. I need people I can look up to and learn from in these different categories. People that we can hear. My mentor tells me things I wouldn't be able to hear from my husband. One time I was going to a finance class with Dave Ramsey with my husband. He had been telling me for years about how to save money and why he didn't use credit cards. We get to this class and Dave Ramsey says the same thing he had been telling me for a decade. I just couldn't hear it from my husband. Hearing it from somebody else happened to me. It helped me see the wisdom instead of hearing it from my spouse. I couldn't hear my husband because I was triggered by the fighting brain. I felt like he was criticizing me, critiquing me. I felt like I was being attacked and controlled. I couldn't hear the good advice and the information that he knew. I took what he said personally as an insult instead of looking at it with logic. I was triggered with the emotion and could not separate the emotion from the information. When I heard it from Dave Ramsey, there was no emotion. I could hear the information easily. We just need the right people to help us with our goals. I have defined roles with my husband. There are certain things I don't talk to about. I don't tell him about my menstruating cycle, my weight, makeup, or hair. First of all, I don't want his advice in these things. And it's important to me to ask the right people for the advice I'm looking for. If I ask my husband about weight, basically whatever he says will be wrong because it's hard not to take it personally. I can talk to my girlfriend about these things and get information. I'm able to hear what they say. I may not believe what my husband says, and he may not be qualified to talk to me about makeup. When we first find ourselves around people who disturb us, when we feel dominated by people around us, we find ourselves miserable and unhappy because we blame them for our misery. We don't have to do this. Good boundaries take care of so much. The only way I know how to let go of blame is prayer. Pray for that person. You can wish away people you don't like, even if your wish was granted. They can vanish out of your life, And when you take responsibility for your feelings and your side of the street, you can humble yourself to the fact that we're not perfect. We could be annoying just like that person. We all have room for improvement. When I ask for forgiveness for my stuff, I can realize others need forgiveness too. So I like asking and writing down on paper for forgiveness. So I'd love for you to write a forgiveness prayer. Mine goes something like this. Heavenly Father, I'm sorry I'm disturbed by him. Forgive me, for I know I am no better than him. Thank you for helping me see how to serve him. I love the way you save me again and again. Give me mercy and grace. Help me let go of this. Help me see him the way you do. Amen. The prayer works when you are consistent and repeat it. If you have a hard time with someone for years, saying a prayer once probably isn't going to do it. I had a relationship over years that became so hard for me. I heard all it would take is 2 weeks of praying for this person. Well, I prayed for him and asked for the things I wanted for myself. And I was told my heart would change and I'd be able to let go. I do think 2 weeks is enough for a start to shift energy around someone who really bothers you, but in my experience, it took longer. I continued to pray. One day I noticed they just didn't bother me as much. This was several years later. I used to have to drink over having conversations with this person. I would rehash what they said in my head over a glass of wine. I would tell myself, when I get home, I'm going to need a drink. I wasted so many nights thinking about this person and how much I wish they would just vanish. I never thought I would be able to let it go. And I've never been best friends with this person, but it has shifted so that I don't have to be angry or blame them. I didn't have to defend, I didn't have to defend the truth to this person because I stopped taking it personally. I forgave them. I accepted them for being exactly the way they were. I stopped trying to change them. I prayed I could see them the way God sees them. They didn't have the power over me that they used to have because I stopped giving it away. I had a clear, defined boundary of who they were in my life, and I didn't have to resent them. I didn't have to make them any more or any less than who they were. The prayer helped me accept them just the way they were. It changed the way I saw them. I changed the boundary and defined the relationship and the role they played in my life. We both knew where the relationship was at, and it felt more peaceful and easier. So I want to remind you that this bullseye is going to be a continuous process where we're going to track how long you spend with different people in your life, and that it's okay if they move closer or farther away. Because we want to pick our influences wisely, okay? You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. Make sure you define who your top 5 are. That is setting a boundary. Limit news and drama by nourishing your mind with uplifting and inspiring information. Try a media diet where you don't watch the news all the time. Payoffs are excuses and distractions you are unaware of that keep toxic people close to you. Pray for the people that annoy you the most. I can't wait to see how this is going to help you in your life. See you next time.